Javier Farje is a historian and journalist specialising in Latin America. He was an observer for the 2017 Venezuelan local elections, and he joins us from London now. Welcome to the programme. So in terms of the election itself, how do you view the results given by the Electoral Council?
Well, the opinion polls before the election said that Mr. Edmundo González should win the election by a wide margin. Now, Ana Corina Tellado, who is Machado, who is the leader of the opposition, who was banned from the standing as candidate, said that the 40% of the votes tally they have suggests that Mr. González has won by 70%. Not only that, they not only dispute the official figures, but they have proclaimed the victory in Venezuela. So they've gone beyond complaining about the figures given by the Electoral Commission, which is close to the government. At the same time, your reporter rightly so mentioned Antony Blinken. The U.S. was always going to be skeptical about this. But the fact that the left-wing president said that the figures, that results are quote-unquote difficult to believe, and of course, the government in Venezuela reacted in the usual aggressive way, saying we fought and defeated fascism with votes in this country, which is an absurd thing to say because the position is not fascist, was very defensive in terms of how they reacted to this. Now, it's going to be very important to see how Brazil and Colombia, which have left-wing president Lula da Silva in Brazil and Gustavo Petro in Colombia react to this. They've been very critical of President Maduro because they believe that the elections were not going to be fair. Now, when I was an observer in 2017, there were international observers, and the opposition accepted reluctantly the result of the local election. We're talking about governors. Venezuela is a federal country. And I was an observer in one of the states, and the process looked transparent, and the opposition, the defeated opposition governor of Lara state in the north of the country accepted the results. This time, they don't. One, because there was a massive turnout, and the massive turnout should have benefited the opposition. Many people in the opposition did not vote before because they either boycotted the elections or decided that it wasn't worth attending because they were going to lose anyway.
OK, so forgive me for jumping in there, but forgive me for jumping in. What is the opposition likely to actually do then in the coming days and weeks?
Well, first of all, they are going to dispute, legally speaking. They are going to demand that the international observers and the observers of the parties have access to the votes. That's the first thing they're doing. That's the first thing. Secondly, they are going to demand that the international community doesn't recognize the the victory of President Maduro. They already said, Ana Corina Machado said, quote unquote, we want to tell the whole world that Venezuela has a new president-elect, Edmundo González, quote unquote. That means that they think that the international community should recognize Mr. González as the new president of Venezuela. Now, the United States have expressed doubts, as you said, and it will depend very much on the table how the other countries react. 8 countries in Latin America have demanded a fair count of the vote. That means that they don't trust the figures given by the Electoral Commission. So the opposition has the support of many people in the international community, United States, countries in Latin America, European Union, and they are going to probably mobilize the members in Venezuela itself. So, as your reporter said rightly so from Colombia, there's going to be a showdown, and the opposition will count on support from the so-called international community in terms of demanding, transparency in this election. So, and regionally speaking, Maduro has been quite isolated, even within left-wing governments that should support the Venezuelan government. So that's the choices the opposition have. We don't know whether this is going to lead to some violence in the street. We don't know that it happened before. We don't know if that's going to be the case here. But they will rely on a support from the international community to demand transparency in this. But they already say Edmundo González won the election. He's the new president-elect. Please recognize him as such.
OK, we'll have to leave it there, Javier Farje. Thank you very much for joining us there from London.
Pleasure.